The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of the concert hall, casting long shadows across the polished wooden floor. 17-year-old Lily sat in the third row, her fingers nervously running over the raised dots on her Braille music sheets. She could hear the whispers around her, feel the excitement buzzing through the room like electricity. Today was the day she had been preparing for over the past 6 months. The Harrison Music Academy was hosting a special masterclass, and everyone who was anyone in the classical music world would be watching. The guest instructor was none other than Richard Sterling, a pianist whose name appeared on concert posters across the country. He had played in the finest venues, recorded albums that topped classical charts, and his opinion could make or break a young musician's career. For Lily, this was more than just another performance. It was her chance to prove that she belonged in this world. Her mother had driven 3 hours to get her here on time. They had left their small apartment before sunrise, Lily clutching her cane in one hand and her sheet music in the other. Her mom had been so proud, telling everyone at her workplace that her daughter was going to play for a famous pianist. Lily remembered how her mother's voice had trembled with emotion when she said, "You're going to show them what you're made of, sweetheart." Now, sitting in that grand hall with its high ceilings and perfect acoustics, Lily wasn't so sure. Her palms were sweaty, and her heart hammered against her ribs. She had been blind since birth, something that had never stopped her from loving music. In fact, it was her whole world. While other kids played video games or watched movies, Lily spent hours at the piano, learning pieces by ear, memorizing every note until it became part of her. The sound of expensive shoes clicking against the stage floor pulled her from her thoughts. Richard Sterling had arrived. The room fell silent instantly, the kind of silence that feels heavy and important. Lily heard him walk to the center of the stage, heard the soft rustle of his suit as he moved. "Good afternoon, everyone." His voice boomed across the hall. It was confident, the voice of someone who had never doubted himself for a single day. "Today we're going to separate those who merely play notes from those who create art. Music isn't just about hitting the right keys at the right time. It's about vision, about seeing the story you want to tell." Lily felt her stomach tighten at his words. Seeing. Always seeing. She had heard variations of this her whole life. People who couldn't imagine how someone could create without sight. But she had learned to ignore it, to focus on what she could do rather than what others thought she couldn't. One by one, students were called up to perform. Lily listened to each performance carefully, her trained ear picking up every nuance. Some were technically perfect but lacked emotion. Others had passion but made small mistakes. Richard's commentary was sharp, often cutting. He didn't hold back his criticism, and several students left the stage looking defeated. "Next we have Lily Chen," the coordinator's voice called out. This was it. Lily stood up, her legs feeling shaky beneath her. She reached for her white cane, extending it with a familiar click that seemed to echo in the quiet hall. The walk to the stage felt impossibly long. She could sense hundreds of eyes on her, could hear the subtle shift in the room's energy. She wasn't like the other students, and everyone knew it. Her cane tapped against the stairs leading up to the stage. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. She counted them in her head the way she had practiced. When she reached the piano, she carefully folded her cane and set it beside the bench. Her fingers found the edge of the piano, tracing along its smooth surface until she located the bench. That's when she heard it, a laugh. Not a warm, encouraging laugh, but something else entirely, something that made her blood run cold. A blind pianist? Richard's voice cut through the silence like a knife. "Well, this should be interesting." The words hung in the air. Lily felt her face grow hot, felt the shame wash over her like a wave. She heard a few uncomfortable coughs from the audience, some shifting in seats. But no one spoke up. No one said anything in her defense. Her hands were trembling now as she positioned them over the keys. She had chosen to play Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, a piece she had been working on for months. Every note was memorized, every phrase practiced until her fingers could play it in her sleep. But now, with her confidence shattered and her hands shaking, it felt like she was touching the piano for the first time. She took a deep breath and began to play. The opening notes came out softer than she had intended, hesitant. She tried to push through, to remember all the hours she had spent perfecting this piece. Her teacher had told her she played it beautifully, that she had real talent. But right now, with Richard's words still ringing in her ears, she couldn't feel any of that. The melody flowed from her fingers, technically correct but lacking the confidence she usually brought to her performances. She could feel every mistake, every moment where her timing was slightly off, every note that didn't sing the way it should. The piece that had once felt like an extension of herself now felt foreign and distant. She was only halfway through when Richard's voice interrupted her. "Stop, just stop." Lily's hands froze over the keys. Her heart sank into her stomach. "That was mechanically adequate, I suppose," he said, his tone dripping with disappointment. But it was completely soulless. There was no vision, no artistry. You're just hitting keys because you've memorized where they are. He walked closer to the piano and Lily could smell his expensive cologne. "Ladies and gentlemen," he addressed the audience, "this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. True artistry requires vision. It requires seeing the music, not just hearing it. You need to see the story you're telling, see the emotions you want to convey. Without that visual element, without that ability to truly see what you're creating, you're just a machine playing notes." Lily sat frozen on the bench, unable to move. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of everyone. She could hear some murmurs from the audience, but they felt distant, like she was underwater. "You can go now," Richard said dismissively. Somehow, Lily managed to stand. Her hands fumbled for her cane and she nearly dropped it. The walk off the stage was a blur. She couldn't remember finding the stairs or making her way back to her seat. All she could feel was the crushing weight of humiliation, the echo of his words in her mind. Her mother found her in the hallway after the master class ended, tears streaming down her face. "Baby, what happened?" her mother asked, pulling her into a tight embrace. Lily couldn't speak. She just sobbed into her mother's shoulder, feeling like every dream she had ever had about music had just been crushed under the weight of one man's cruelty. The drive home was silent except for her quiet crying. She had never felt so small, so worthless, so invisible. That night, lying in her bed, Lily wondered if she would ever have the courage to play piano in public again. Maybe Richard was right. Maybe she was just fooling herself, thinking she could make it in a world that demanded you see to truly create. Maybe some dreams were meant to stay dreams, never to become reality. Lily didn't go to school the next day, or the day after that. She stayed in her room with the curtains drawn, even though darkness made no difference to her. Her mother brought her meals on a tray, but most of the food went untouched. The piano in their living room sat silent, its keys gathering dust. Every time Lily walked past it, she felt a physical pain in her chest, like something precious had been torn away from her. What she didn't know was that someone had been recording the entire masterclass. A college student named Rachel Park had been sitting in the back row, her phone propped up on her knee, capturing everything. Rachel was studying music education, and she had come to the masterclass hoping to learn from Richard Sterling. But what she witnessed that day left her angry and disturbed. That evening, Rachel sat in her dorm room replaying the video over and over. She watched Lily's nervous walk to the stage, saw the moment Richard laughed at her, heard his cruel words cutting through the silence. The more she watched, the more furious she became. This wasn't constructive criticism. This was bullying. This was a powerful man crushing a young girl's dreams simply because she was different. Rachel opened her laptop and uploaded the video to social media. Her hands shook slightly as she typed the caption. "This is what happens when ego destroys talent. This girl deserves so much better than this. The music world needs to do better." She hesitated for just a moment before hitting post. Then she set her phone down and tried to focus on her homework. By morning, everything had changed. Rachel woke up to hundreds of notifications. Her phone was buzzing nonstop, the screen lighting up with comments, shares, and reactions. The video had been viewed over 50,000 times overnight. By noon, that number had jumped to 500,000. By evening, it had crossed 5 million views. The comments section was flooded with reactions. Professional musicians shared the video, expressing their disgust at Richard's behavior. Disability rights advocates picked it up, using it as an example of the barriers that people with disabilities still face in the arts. Parents shared it, talking about their own children who had been discouraged from pursuing their dreams. Teachers shared it, discussing the importance of encouragement over cruelty. "This broke my heart," one comment read. "I've been teaching piano for 30 years and I would never speak to a student this way." Another said, "Being blind doesn't mean you can't see music. Some of the greatest musicians in history couldn't see with their eyes but saw more with their hearts than most of us ever will. This man should be ashamed of himself, another person wrote. That girl had more courage walking onto that stage than he's ever had in his entire career. The hashtag started appearing everywhere. First it was just a few people using it, then dozens, then thousands. Within 2 days it was trending worldwide. People who had never heard of Richard Sterling or Lily Chen were now watching the video, sharing their thoughts, adding their voices to the growing chorus of support. But not everyone was supportive. Some people defended Richard, saying that the music world was competitive and that honest criticism, however harsh, was necessary. She needs to toughen up if she wants to make it in this industry, one comment read. These comments, however, were quickly drowned out by the overwhelming majority who saw Richard's behavior for what it was. Richard Sterling's world began to crumble almost immediately. His social media accounts were flooded with angry messages. People tagged him in posts about the video demanding an apology. His management team went into crisis mode, trying to figure out how to handle the situation. Concert venues that had booked him for upcoming performances started receiving calls from angry patrons threatening to boycott if he appeared. On the third day after the video went viral, Richard's team released a statement. It was short, carefully worded by lawyers and publicists. I apologize if my comments were taken the wrong way. My intention was to provide honest feedback to help all students improve. I have the utmost respect for musicians of all backgrounds and abilities. The apology landed like a lead balloon. People immediately pointed out that he had apologized for how his comments were taken, rather than for making them in the first place. He hadn't acknowledged the harm he had caused or shown any real understanding of why his behavior was wrong. Within hours, more venues began canceling his appearances. A recording label dropped him from an upcoming project. Sponsors started distancing themselves from him. Meanwhile, Lily had no idea any of this was happening. Her mother had made the decision not to tell her about the video. She didn't want her daughter to know that her most humiliating moment had been broadcast to millions of people around the world. She thought she was protecting her. On the fourth day, Lily finally came out of her room. She looked pale and thin, her eyes red from crying. She sat at the kitchen table while her mother made her favorite breakfast. But she just stared at the plate. Honey, you need to eat something, her mother said gently. I don't think I want to play piano anymore, Lily whispered. Her mother's heart broke at those words. She sat down across from her daughter and took her hands. Don't let one cruel person take away something you love so much. But what if he's right? Lily said, her voice cracking. What if I'm just fooling myself? What if I can never be a real musician because I can't see? You know that's not true, her mother replied firmly. You've been playing since you were 5 years old. You've won competitions. Your teachers have always said you have a gift. Lily shook her head. They were probably just being nice because they felt sorry for me. Her mother wanted to tell her about the video, about the millions of people who were standing up for her, about how Richard's career was falling apart while the world rallied behind her. But she held back, still believing that keeping her daughter in the dark was the right choice. That afternoon, Lily's phone rang. It was her piano teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, calling to check on her. Lily let it go to voicemail. Then the school counselor called. Voicemail again. Then her best friend Amy called 3 times in a row. Lily turned her phone off completely, but the support kept coming even if Lily didn't know about it. Musicians around the world began posting videos of themselves playing piano, dedicating their performances to the brave girl who deserves better. A famous blind jazz pianist gave an interview talking about his own experiences with discrimination and how he had overcome it. Classical music organizations started conversations about accessibility and inclusion in their programs. Rachel, the student who had posted the video, was overwhelmed by the response. She hadn't expected it to blow up like this. Her inbox was full of messages from journalists wanting interviews, from advocacy groups wanting to connect with Lily, from musicians offering to help. She felt responsible now, like she had started something she needed to see through to the end. She reached out to the Harrison Music Academy, asking if they could put her in touch with Lily's family. The academy was dealing with its own crisis, facing criticism for not intervening during the masterclass. They were hesitant at first, worried about privacy and legal issues, but eventually they agreed to pass along Rachel's contact information to Lily's mother. When Lily's mother received the call from the academy, she was confused. She still hadn't told Lily about the video, and now she was being told that millions of people knew her daughter's story. The academy coordinator explained everything, how the video had gone viral, how the world was rallying behind Lily, how the student Rachel wanted to help. That evening, Lily's mother sat her daughter down in the living room. "There's something I need to tell you," she began, her voice serious. Lily felt her stomach drop. "What is it?" Her mother took a deep breath and began to explain. She told her about the video, about the millions of views, about the hashtag, about Richard's crumbling career, about the outpouring of support. With each sentence, Lily's expression changed from confusion to shock to disbelief. "Everyone knows," Lily whispered. "The whole world saw what happened to me." Her mother nodded, then remembered her daughter couldn't see the gesture. "Yes, sweetheart, but they're not laughing at you. They're standing with you. They're angry at him, not you. They think you're brave." Lily sat in stunned silence. She didn't know how to process this information. Part of her felt mortified that her worst moment had been seen by millions, but another part, a small part she was almost afraid to acknowledge, felt something else, something that might have been hope. Lily spent the next 2 days reading through the thousands of comments on her phone, using a screen reader. Each supportive message was read aloud by the automated voice, and with each one, something inside her began to shift. People from countries she had never even heard of were sending her encouragement. Professional musicians were defending her talent. Parents were sharing stories of their own children who had overcome obstacles, but it was still overwhelming. The attention felt like too much, too fast. She had gone from wanting to disappear to having millions of eyes on her, and she wasn't sure which felt worse. She stopped reading the comments after a while and turned her phone off again. The silence felt safer. On the 6th day after the masterclass, something unexpected happened. Lily's mother answered a call from a number she didn't recognize. The voice on the other end was soft but confident, with a slight accent that suggested the speaker had lived in many places. "Hello, my name is Dr. Catherine Wang. I'm calling about Lily. I saw what happened to her, and I'd like to help if she'll let me." Lily's mother was immediately suspicious. Over the past few days, they had received dozens of calls from journalists, bloggers, and people claiming to be talent scouts. Everyone wanted a piece of Lily's story. "I appreciate the call, but we're not interested in any interviews or publicity right now," she said politely but firmly. "I'm not a journalist," Dr. Wang replied. "I'm a pianist and teacher. I've performed at Carnegie Hall, the Royal Albert Hall, and venues across Asia and Europe. For the past 30 years, I've been teaching at the Berklee College of Music. I'm 71 years old, and I'm calling because I heard something special in those 2 minutes that Lily played." Lily's mother paused. She recognized the name. Dr. Catherine Wang was a legend in classical music circles. "You want to teach Lily? I'd like to meet her first, if that's all right. No cameras, no publicity, just a conversation. If she's interested in continuing her musical journey, I'd be honored to mentor her." That evening, Lily's mother sat her daughter down and told her about the call. Lily's first reaction was panic. "I can't meet her. What if she's just doing this because she feels sorry for me? What if she watches me play and realizes Richard was right? Or," her mother said gently, "what if she sees what everyone else saw in that video? What if she sees what I've always seen in you? Real talent. Real passion. Real potential." Lily was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know if I can do this, Mom. Every time I think about sitting at a piano in front of someone, I feel sick to my stomach." "You don't have to decide right now," her mother said. "But Dr. Wang is willing to come here to our home, just to talk. No pressure. No performance. Just a conversation." 3 days later, Dr. Wang arrived at their apartment. Lily heard the doorbell and felt her heart start racing. She stood in the hallway, unsure whether to run to her room or face this legendary pianist who had traveled across the state just to meet her. "Lily," Dr. Wang's voice was warm as she entered the living room. "Thank you for agreeing to see me. I promise I'm not here to judge or to add any pressure. I just wanted to meet the young woman whose playing touched me so deeply." They sat in the living room, and at first the conversation was awkward. Lily gave short answers, still guarded and afraid. But Dr. Wang didn't push. Instead, she began to tell stories about her own life, her own struggles. "When I was 19, Dr. Wang said, I performed at a competition in Vienna. I had prepared for months. I was so confident. But when I got on stage, I froze. Completely froze. I sat at that piano for almost 2 full minutes without playing a single note. Then I ran off the stage crying. Lily turned her head toward the older woman's voice, surprised. Really? Really, Dr. Wang confirmed. I was so humiliated that I didn't touch a piano for 6 months. I was convinced I would never perform again. My teacher at the time had to practically drag me back to the instrument. What made you go back? Lily asked quietly. I realized that I wasn't playing for the judges or the audience or anyone else. I was playing for me. Because music was the language my soul spoke in. Without it, I felt like I was missing a part of myself. Lily felt tears prickling at her eyes. That was exactly how she had been feeling. Like something essential had been cut away from her. Dr. Wang continued. When I watched the video of your performance, even with all the nerves and the awful interruption, I heard something. I heard musicality. I heard someone who understands that piano isn't just about pressing keys. It's about telling a story. And I thought to myself, that young woman has something worth nurturing. But Richard said I was soulless. Lily whispered. He said I was just a machine. Richard Sterling, Dr. Wang said, and there was an edge to her voice now, is a technically proficient pianist with an oversized ego and a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes music meaningful. I've known him for years, and I can tell you that his playing is impressive but cold. He can dazzle an audience, but he rarely moves them. You, on the other hand, even in those brief moments before he interrupted you, were beginning to tell a story. Lily wanted to believe her, but the doubt was still there, heavy and persistent. How can I tell a story if I can't see? He said you need vision to create real art. Dr. Wang laughed, a genuine sound of amusement. Lily, do you know how many of history's greatest musicians couldn't see with their eyes? Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, Art Tatum, Nobuyuki Tsuji, and that's just in recent history. Some of the most moving performances I've ever witnessed were by blind musicians. You know why? Because they're not distracted by the visual world. They live in the music in a way that many sighted musicians never achieve. She leaned forward, and Lily could hear the rustle of her clothing. Vision isn't about eyes, Lily, it's about imagination. It's about feeling. When you play, what do you see in your mind? Lily thought about it. I see colors sometimes. Like certain chords feel like deep blue or bright yellow, and I see shapes, movements. The music creates pictures in my head that I can't really describe. That's vision, Dr. Wang said firmly. That's exactly what vision is. You're translating sound into imagery in your mind. That's not less than what sighted musicians do. In many ways, it's more pure. They talked for 2 more hours. Dr. Wang asked about the pieces Lily loved to play, about her favorite composers, about what drew her to classical piano in the first place. Lily found herself relaxing, opening up in a way she hadn't since the masterclass. For the first time in over a week, she felt that flutter of excitement when talking about music. Before Dr. Wang left, she made an offer. I'd like to work with you, Lily. Not because I feel sorry for you and not because of the viral video, but because I genuinely believe you have talent that deserves to be developed. There's a national youth competition in 3 months. It's one of the most prestigious in the country and it's televised. I think you should enter it and I'd like to prepare you for it. Lily felt her stomach drop. Televised? I can't get on a stage again in front of cameras and people, and I know it's terrifying, Dr. Wang interrupted gently. Believe me, I know, but hiding from your fear won't make it go away. The only way through it is through it, and I'll be with you every step of the way. What if I mess up again? What if I freeze? What if I prove that Richard was right all along? Dr. Wang stood up and Lily could hear her moving closer. She felt the older woman's hand rest lightly on her shoulder. Then you'll have learned something valuable and we'll try again. But Lily, I don't think you're going to mess up. I think you're going to surprise yourself. I think you're going to show the world what I already hear in your playing. Something special. After Dr. Wang left, Lily sat in silence for a long time. Her mother didn't push her, didn't ask what she was thinking. Finally, Lily stood up and walked slowly to the piano in their living room. She hadn't touched it since before the master class. Her fingers trembled as she lifted the fallboard, exposing the keys. She sat down on the bench and placed her hands in position. For a moment, she just sat there, breathing. Then slowly, she began to play. It was the same Chopin nocturne she had played at the master class, but this time she played it all the way through. And this time, even with the fear still present, even with the doubt still whispering in her mind, she played it with something that had been missing before. She played it with hope. The training began the very next morning. Dr. Wang arrived at 8 o'clock sharp, carrying a leather bag filled with Braille sheet music and recordings. Lily was already at the piano, having woken up an hour earlier, too nervous to sleep. Her fingers had been running through scales, warming up, trying to shake off the rust of the past 2 weeks. "Good, you're ready," Dr. Wang said as she entered. "But first, before we touch the piano, I want you to tell me something." "Why do you play?" Lily was caught off guard by the question. "What do you mean?" "I mean exactly what I asked. Why do you play piano? Not why you started. Not why your parents wanted you to learn. Why do you, Lily Chen, sit at this instrument and spend hours of your life pressing keys?" Lily thought about it. Nobody had ever asked her that before. "Because when I play, I feel like I can say things that I don't have words for. Like there are feelings inside me that are too big or too complicated to explain, and the piano lets them out." Dr. Wang was quiet for a moment, then Lily heard her footsteps moving closer. "Perfect. That's exactly right. Hold on to that feeling, because over the next 3 months, there are going to be moments when you want to quit, when your fingers hurt, when you can't get a passage right, when the fear creeps back in. In those moments, I want you to remember why you play." The work was harder than anything Lily had ever done. Dr. Wang didn't just teach her to play notes. She taught her to understand the architecture of the music, to feel the emotional journey of each piece, to make choices about tempo and dynamics that were uniquely her own. They decided to work on Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2. It was an ambitious choice, a piece that even seasoned professionals found challenging. Lily's mother worried it was too much, but Dr. Wang insisted. "She needs something that will push her beyond what she thinks she's capable of," Dr. Wang explained. "Something that will make the judges and the audience forget everything except the music." The concerto was massive, sprawling, emotional. It demanded technical precision but also deep feeling. Lily spent hours each day learning it section by section. Her fingers stumbled over the rapid passages. Her wrists ached from the powerful chords. Some days she would practice a single measure over and over, 50 times, 100 times, until she could play it in her sleep. Dr. Wang was patient, but demanding. She never let Lily settle for good enough. Again, she would say, "You're playing the notes, but you're not feeling them. This section is about longing, about reaching for something you can't have. Make me feel that." Lily would try again, digging deeper, trying to channel her own experiences of loss and hope into the music. Sometimes it worked, and Dr. Wang would say, "Yes, that's it. That's what I want to hear." Other times, they would work for hours without breakthrough, and Lily would end the day exhausted and frustrated. Word had gotten out that Lily was entering the National Youth Piano Competition. The same social media that had rallied around her after the humiliation now buzzed with anticipation. People were excited to see her perform again, but not everyone was supportive. Some comments online questioned whether she was ready for such a high-profile event. "She's only doing this because of the viral video," one person wrote. "The competition should be about talent, not sympathy stories." Another comment read, "I hope she does well, but that Rachmaninoff piece is incredibly difficult. Even professional pianists struggle with it. Is she being set up to fail?" Lily's mother tried to keep her away from the comments, but Lily found them anyway. One night, about 6 weeks into her training, she broke down during practice. Her fingers stumbled over a passage she had played perfectly the day before, and suddenly she was crying, her hands frozen over the keys. "I can't do this," she sobbed. "Everyone's going to be watching, waiting for me to fail. What if I get up there and freeze again? What if I prove that Richard was right?" Dr. Wang let her cry for a moment, then spoke quietly. "Lily, can I tell you something? When I heard you were entering this competition, Richard Sterling called me." Lily's head snapped up. "What?" "He wanted to know why I was wasting my time with you. He said, and I quote, 'She'll embarrass herself and you'll look like a fool for believing in her.' Do you know what I told him?" Lily shook her head, unable to speak. "I told him that in my 50 years of teaching, I've learned that the students who face the biggest obstacles often become the strongest musicians, because they have something to say. They have a fire inside them that comfortable, privileged students sometimes lack. And I told him that you have more musicality in one measure than he has in his entire repertoire." Lily felt fresh tears coming, but these were different.
You really believe that?
I wouldn't be here if I didn't. But Lily, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what I believe. It doesn't matter what Richard believes or what anyone on the internet believes. The only thing that matters is what you believe. Do you believe you can do this? Lily wanted to say yes immediately, but she was honest instead. Sometimes. Sometimes I practice and everything feels right and I think maybe I can actually pull this off. But other times I'm terrified. Good, Dr. Wang said firmly. If you weren't terrified, I'd be worried. Fear means you care. Fear means it matters. The question isn't whether you're afraid. The question is whether you're going to let that fear stop you or whether you're going to walk through it. They kept working. Slowly, the concerto began to take shape. Lily's fingers grew stronger, more confident. The passages that had seemed impossible became manageable, then fluid, then beautiful. She began to understand the emotional arc of the piece, the way it built from quiet introspection to soaring triumph. Dr. Wang brought in a recording of the orchestra parts, and they practiced with Lily playing along to the accompaniment. It was thrilling and terrifying, hearing how her piano part wove in and out of the orchestral sound. During the actual competition, she would be playing with a live orchestra, which added another layer of complexity. You have to listen to them while you play, Dr. Wang instructed. It's a conversation, not a solo. Sometimes you lead, sometimes they lead, sometimes you move together. It takes practice to feel that balance. As the competition date drew closer, reporters started calling again. Some wanted to do profile pieces on Lily. Others wanted to interview Dr. Wang about why she had taken on this student. A few television producers reached out wanting to film the preparation process. Dr. Wang turned them all down. This isn't about the story, she told Lily's mother. This is about the music. When Lily walks onto that stage, I want her to be thinking about Rachmaninoff, not about cameras. 2 weeks before the competition, they had a full run-through. Lily played the entire concerto start to finish, with the orchestra recording playing through speakers. It took over 30 minutes, and by the end her arms were shaking from exertion, but she made it through. Dr. Wang was silent for a long moment after the final chord faded. Then she said simply, "You're ready." But Lily didn't feel ready. That night she lay in bed, unable to sleep, her mind racing. The competition would be held at the Metropolitan Concert Hall, a venue that seated 3,000 people. It would be broadcast live on national television and streamed online. Millions of people would be watching. Some of them would be rooting for her, some would be curious, and some she knew would be hoping to see her fail. The pressure felt enormous, crushing. She thought about all the young pianists who would be competing, many of them from prestigious music schools, many of them with years of professional training. What was she doing, thinking she could compete with them? She was just a girl from a small town who had learned piano because her mother thought it would be good for her hand coordination. She had no prestigious pedigree, no famous teachers until now, no reputation to speak of except for being the girl who got humiliated by Richard Sterling. The doubt crept in like poison, whispering all her fears back to her. You're not good enough. You're going to embarrass yourself. You're going to prove Richard right in front of the whole world. 3 days before the competition, Lily had her worst practice session yet. Her fingers felt stiff and uncooperative. She missed entrances, fumbled transitions, and played with all the emotion of a robot. Dr. Wang stopped her halfway through. "What's going on in your head right now?" she asked. "I'm scared," Lily admitted, her voice small. "I keep thinking about everything that could go wrong. What if my hands shake? What if I forget the music? What if—" "Stop," Dr. Wang said firmly. "You're so busy worrying about failing that you've forgotten why you're doing this in the first place. Let me ask you something. If there were no cameras, no audience, no competition, no Richard Sterling, no internet comments, if it was just you and this piano and this music, would you want to play it?" Lily thought about the question. She thought about the concerto, about the passages she had fallen in love with, about the moments where the music swelled and her heart soared with it. "Yes," she whispered. "I would. Then that's all that matters. When you walk onto that stage, I want you to forget about everything else. Play for yourself. Play because you love this music. Play because you have something to say and the piano is how you say it. Everything else is just noise." The day before the competition, they didn't practice at all. Dr. Wang insisted that Lily rest, both her body and her mind. They went for a walk in the park near Lily's apartment. They talked about everything except music. They ate ice cream. They laughed. That night, as Dr. Wang prepared to leave, she pulled Lily into a hug. Tomorrow you're going to walk onto that stage and you're going to play like your life depends on it. Not because you have something to prove to anyone else, but because you have something to share. Remember that. Lily tried to sleep but only managed a few fitful hours. When morning came, bringing with it the day she had been preparing for, training for, dreading and anticipating in equal measure, she felt strangely calm. The fear was still there, buzzing under her skin like electricity. But underneath it was something else, something that felt almost like readiness. The Metropolitan Concert Hall was unlike anything Lily had ever experienced. Even backstage, she could feel the energy of the place, could hear the muffled sounds of 3,000 people filling the seats. The air smelled of old wood and fresh flowers, and every sound seemed to echo with importance. Lily sat in the green room with her mother and Dr. Wang, listening to the other competitors perform through the monitor speakers. They were all incredible. A 16-year-old boy from New York played Liszt with such technical precision, it sounded like magic. A girl from California made Mozart sound fresh and exciting. Each performance was met with thunderous applause. "They're all so good," Lily whispered, her hands trembling in her lap. Dr. Wang squeezed her shoulder. "They are good, and so are you. Different pieces, different styles, different stories. You're not competing against them, remember? You're sharing your music." Lily nodded, but her heart was racing. She could hear the announcer's voice between performances, could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Somewhere out there, millions of people were watching on television and online. She knew that people who had seen the viral video were tuning in specifically to see her. Some wanted her to succeed. Others were probably hoping for another disaster. "Lily Chen will be performing next," a stage manager called into the room. 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Lily felt like she might throw up. Her mother hugged her tightly. "I'm so proud of you, baby. No matter what happens out there, I'm so proud." Dr. Wang walked with her to the wings of the stage. Lily could hear the orchestra tuning, could feel the heat of the stage lights even from here. "Remember," Dr. Wang said quietly, "it's just you and the music. Everything else disappears. I'll be right here in the wings and your mother is in the 3rd row." "You're not alone," the announcer's voice boomed across the hall. "Our next performer is 17-year-old Lily Chen, who will be playing Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 in C minor. Please welcome Lily to the stage." The applause that greeted her was enormous, deafening. Lily stood frozen for a moment, overwhelmed by the sound. Then she felt someone take her arm gently. It was the stage manager, guiding her onto the stage. Her white cane tapped against the polished wood as she walked. The walk to the piano felt like it took forever. She could feel the eyes on her, thousands of them, could sense the cameras pointing at her from multiple angles. Her legs felt weak. Her hands were cold. Every fear she had pushed down over the past 3 months came rushing back. She reached the piano and carefully folded her cane, setting it beside the bench just like she had practiced. She sat down and the hall fell silent. So silent she could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Her hands hovered over the keys. This was it. This was the moment that would either redeem her or confirm every cruel thing Richard had said. She thought about running off the stage, about giving up, about hiding from all of this. Then she remembered Dr. Wang's words. "It's just you and the music." She took a deep breath and nodded to the conductor. The orchestra began with those famous haunting opening chords, deep, dark, full of longing. Lily felt the music wash over her, felt it calling to her. And then it was her turn. Her fingers touched the keys and something shifted. The fear didn't disappear, but it transformed into something else. Energy, purpose. She began to play. And the moment the first notes rang out, the world around her did disappear. She wasn't thinking about the audience anymore. She wasn't thinking about Richard or the viral video or the millions of people watching. She was inside the music, living in it. Her fingers flew across the keys, dancing through the rapid passages that had taken her weeks to master. The concerto unfolded like a story. The dark, brooding opening gave way to moments of hope, then passion, then despair, then triumph. Lily played it all, pouring 3 months of work and 17 years of love for music into every note. Her body swayed with the melody. Her face showed every emotion the music demanded. There was a passage in the second movement, a soft, tender melody that always made her think of her mother's voice when she sang lullabies. She played it with such delicacy, such care, that several people in the audience felt tears in their eyes without quite knowing why. Then came the third movement, the one that had given her the most trouble in practice, fast, demanding, relentless. Her hands raced across the keyboard, the notes tumbling out in cascades of sound. The orchestra swelled around her and she followed them, led them, danced with them. In the wings, Dr. Wang stood with tears streaming down her face. This was what she had heard in those 2 minutes 3 months ago. This was what she knew Lily was capable of. Not just technical skill, but genuine artistry. The ability to take notes on a page and transform them into something that made people feel. Lily's mother sat in the third row, clutching her purse so tightly her knuckles were white. She watched her daughter up there, so brave, so beautiful, so completely lost in the music. She thought about all the people who had told her over the years that she should prepare Lily for a realistic career, something practical for someone with her disability. And here was her daughter making 3,000 people hold their breath. The concerto built to its final climax. The orchestra and piano came together in a powerful, triumphant finale. Lily's hands crashed down on the final chords with everything she had, and the last notes hung in the air for a perfect, crystalline moment. Then silence. Complete and total silence. Lily sat frozen at the piano, her hands still on the keys, wondering if something had gone wrong. Had she made a mistake? Had she embarrassed herself after all? Then the applause hit like a wave. Not just applause, but a roar. 3,000 people leaped to their feet as one, clapping, cheering, some of them crying openly. The standing ovation went on and on. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. People in the balcony were whistling. The orchestra members were tapping their bows against their music stands in appreciation. Lily sat at the piano, stunned, barely able to process what was happening. The stage manager had to come out and help her stand, help her take a bow. The applause grew even louder. In the wings, Dr. Wang was hugging anyone near her. In the third row, Lily's mother was sobbing with joy. And somewhere in the audience, Rachel, the college student who had posted the original video, was filming again. But this time she was filming a triumph. The judges deliberated for only 20 minutes. When they announced the results, there was no surprise. Lily Chen had won first place unanimously. The head judge, a distinguished pianist who had performed with orchestras around the world, said into the microphone, "In 30 years of judging this competition, I have rarely witnessed a performance of such emotional depth and technical mastery. This young woman didn't just play Rachmaninoff. She made us feel it in our souls." Backstage, after accepting her trophy, Lily was surrounded by reporters, other competitors, and well-wishers. Everyone wanted to talk to her, to congratulate her, to be part of this moment. But all she wanted was to find Dr. Wang and her mother. When she finally did, they held each other and cried. Happy tears this time. Healing tears. "You did it," Dr. Wang whispered. "You silenced every doubt, every critic, every person who said you couldn't. Not because you proved them wrong, but because you proved yourself right." The video of Lily's performance went even more viral than the original Humiliation had. Within days, it had over 20 million views. Music schools from across the country reached out with scholarship offers. Symphony orchestras invited her to perform as a guest soloist. Disability advocacy groups asked her to speak at events. But the most satisfying moment came a week later, when Lily was at home practicing. Her mother answered a phone call and then called her to the living room. "Lily, someone wants to talk to you." It was Richard Sterling. His voice was different from before, smaller somehow. "I wanted to congratulate you on your performance," he said stiffly. "It was impressive." Lily was quiet for a moment. She could have said so many things. She could have thrown his cruelty back in his face. Instead, she said simply, "Thank you. I hope you learned something too." She hung up before he could respond. Richard's career never fully recovered. Some venues gave him second chances, but he never regained his former status. He had become a cautionary tale about hubris and cruelty. Lily, on the other hand, was just beginning. She accepted a full scholarship to a prestigious music conservatory. Dr. Wang continued to mentor her, and they performed together at benefit concerts. Lily became an advocate for accessibility in the arts, working with music schools to ensure they welcomed students with disabilities. But more than any of that, she kept playing. Not to prove anything to anyone anymore, not to silence critics or win competitions. She played because music was her voice, her joy, her purpose. She played because it was who she was meant to be. And whenever young musicians with disabilities reached out to her, struggling with their own doubts, she always told them the same thing Dr. Wang had told her. The only limitations that matter are the ones you believe in. Everything else is just noise. On the wall of her practice room, Lily kept a framed photo from the night of the competition. She couldn't see it, of course, but she knew what it showed. Her at the piano, her face tilted slightly upward, her hands on the keys, completely lost in the music. Her mother had described it to her many times. "You look like you're flying," her mother always said, and in that moment Lily had been.